Hey guys, last night I was relaxing and was watching a couple of YouTube videos, and then I came across this one. It's about Zoxide. It's basically supposedly a improved version of the CD command on Linux. And as I was watching the video, I was starting to form a few quite strong opinions right away. So I figured I wanted to go through the video and share my opinions with you. I'm not going to go through the entire thing. I will post a link below, of course. And first of all, I think this is a great creator, dreams of autonomy. He does a great job in his editing, so I'm not trying to bash him at all, but I'm just going to get into it and I'll share my opinions. So,
CD works. As I said, none of this is special. However, after you've used Zoxide for a little bit, that's when things start to become interesting. Let's say I want to make some changes to my NeoVim config. In order to do so, I need to navigate to the directory that contains my NeoVim configuration files. This is all the way in my home.config/nvim/lua/custom directory, which is nested pretty deep. In order to get there with CD, I have to use the full path every time, which can be rather tedious. The only ways to speed this up are by using either my Z shell history or defining a custom alias for any directories that I use frequently.
Yeah, I do this all the time. So I use Fuzzy File Finder. Some Linux seniors even consider that to be a luxury, and it is. But the creating aliases, I do that all the time. I have tons of them in my bash RC.
With Zoxide, however, if I want to get there quickly, all I have to do is type in z nvim custom, and it takes me straight there. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So how does it work? Well, as I've been navigating around, Zoxide has been working in the background, adding weights to my most frequently visited paths. This means that if I want to jump into a directory that I've already visited with Zoxide, I can do so using path fragments rather than specifying the entire thing. Zoxide will then use its internal matching algorithm to determine which path to use. This algorithm has four main properties.
Okay, so the way it works then is that it learns from your history where you've been, and then if you type in a few words, then it will sort of intelligently guess the path from it. But when I look at this, I still have to type 3 words, right? It is not like you do a few keystrokes and you're there. You're still typing 3 words. So I'm finding this a very hard sell, really. I think this is okay. Well,
will then use its
let's keep the opinions for a bit, and let's just finish watching.
Matching algorithm to determine which path to use. This
sensitive, not going to watch the whole thing, but
within the path in the same order component of the path. For
this
example,
is how it works.
None of my path entries end with tools as their last component.
Okay, so even when it doesn't find a match, then you risk you risk not even having any action of your typing.
The highest weight being chosen. In my case, the directory has been the last access time was creating aliases, which are typically static and require you to have to create and forget. That's where another feature of Zoxide comes in handy. In order to enable this feature, we need to install another package on our system. This is
another package. FZF, yeah, I already have that.
Yeah. Them in a fuzzy way. Pretty cool, but by itself, it's not that useful. However, when combined with
what?
In a fuzzy, you find a tool for the terminal. If I install it using Pacman and then run it, you can see how it works. It lists all of the files in my directory and allows me to search for them in a fuzzy way. Pretty cool, but by itself, it's not that useful.
So what does he mean with not that useful? Like if I'm in my home directory and I go to config, and if I press Ctrl-T and then in Vim, I'm there. I can see everything, like Alacrity. I can even just find the themes file. Tommel, like it already has that functionality, and even you can view it live while you are typing, right? So, but even like you can even just, if I'm in the config directory and I press T, and if I do a la Tommel, then I will get all of the Tommel files here, or a la theme, and everything matches already. So I really don't see why you need Z for that.
Combined with Zoxide, it becomes incredible. If I type in the ZI command, which stands for Zoxide Interactive, we're now shown an FCF window containing a list of all the directories we've visited using Zoxide, in descending order of their score. I can scroll through this list using Ctrl-P and Ctrl-N, or I can just search for a directory with fuzzy finding by typing out the name. By doing so, I can then select the entry I want and I'll be navigated to it. As well as the ZI command, you can also bring up an interactive menu whilst you're typing out your terms.
I'm finding this a hard sell. Like in my home directory, if I press Ctrl T and if I do alacrity or whatever I want to find, it will already find it. Like there's no added value of having a score. Okay, you see your most recent ones, but if I do Ctrl R, I can already see my most recent directories that I've navigated to. So
to do so, start typing out the prefix of the directory you wish to change to. Then, when you want to bring up the menu, press the space key followed by pressing the tab to change these off or increment its database, which is handy if Zoxide resolves to any. Through this menu,
so you
can either
remove
increment or
directories from it.
decrement. Zoxide definitely improves my workflow. However, there's a catch.
Okay. I'm happy he is getting into this. So let's see what the catch is. Maybe he shares my opinion. Let's check it out.
As I mentioned at the start, CD is one of my most used commands. Therefore, undoing that muscle memory is going to be very difficult.
Exactly.
Not only that, but if I have to change to using the Z command for navigation, anytime I move or SSH onto another machine that doesn't have Zoxide installed, I'll need to adjust my muscle memory again.
Exactly.
This results in the Zoxide command becoming a crutch. To prevent this from happening, I can rebind the cd command to use Zoxide instead. The easiest way to do this is to just use a shell alias. However, I prefer to take a different approach.
Okay, well, I'm really happy he says this already, and this is exactly what my opinion was on this too. Like, if you are learning, if say you already know Linux, right? Okay, say you're already familiar with the file system and you know how it works, then even then, it's going to be a huge problem if you're going to unlearn using CD to navigate. Like if I'm in my home lab directory, and here you see what I'm doing? I'm pressing HL, and this is an alias in my bash RC, home lab here. Alias HL home lab points to this one. So if I press HL, I'm in my home lab directory instantly. This is much faster than Z repos home lab, Z repo home lab, for example. But that aside, if I'm in my home lab directory and I just do LA and I CD and I use tab completion where I need to go, I can see everything, all of my options, and I want to go to Homar. Like this is, it's so fast, but then this is how I navigate my file system on my local system all the time. But say you are in a container, so I go in my Kubernetes cluster. Oh, let me just switch to my home lab here, and if I randomly I go to my home assistant, then now I'm in my home assistant container, and this happens, right? Sometimes I need to do things in containers. So here I can just navigate around as I'm used to. I can go to my home directory, I can list things out, cd config. Like, if I am used to using Z or fuzzy file finder for that matter, I'm going to be struggling a lot. Like, every time I have to make that context switch, it's going to be a problem, because it's like, oh, how do I CD to the previous directory again? Or in my containers, if I go to the root directory, like where is the app directory usually located, right? If you are used to just always relying on the AI to tell you where it is, you're going to be in big trouble. You're going to be using a lot of mental energy into figuring out every time where you are and where you need to go. So, and as a beginner, if you are a beginner learning Linux, learning Vim, then picking up a tool like this is going to be disastrous for your development. Seriously, like, take my word for it. You're going to be building muscle memory for something that you can only use on your own system. And the first time you find yourself in a container or on a virtual machine, you're going to be in big trouble. So I would be highly cautious of this, and I'm not going to use this at all, obviously, but this is dangerous territory, guys. I highly suggest you avoid this like the plague. Learn the Linux file system properly, learn how to navigate it quickly, because I don't have any problems with reaching my files quickly if you have a proper directory structure. So even if I want to go to all my repos and then in here I want to find my Maor directory, I just use FCF and here I am. I'm in my Maor directory here. No problem. I'm here already. Like, how quick was that? Do I need AI for that? No. If I'm in my home directory and if I go to my config directory, then at least I know I have all of my config files here and I want to have my key maps file. Okay, I go into that one, and like that, it's not a problem at all. Sorry, I just opened the key maps at Lua and here I am. It's not a problem at all. I don't need AI for this. I don't need intelligent history for this. And even if you want to just check your history, your most recent commands, just type the history command or press Ctrl R and search your history. So yeah. Tough sell. I think it's going to be disastrous for development if you're learning Linux, and I would avoid this like the plague. And again, I'm not bashing this guy. I think he makes great videos, and it has improved his workflow. Well, I'm happy for him. And if you are only working on your own system and you're never going to be planning on going into a container, okay, do what makes you happy, I suppose. But if you want to become a good engineer, if you want to be an infrastructure engineer who works in containers, avoid this. End of rant.